You were the plan B, not the dream, my girlfriend said when I caught her with her male best friend. I left and moved on. 2 years later, she crashed into my wedding in a red dress, screaming she was the real bride. Hey, Reddit! 2 years ago, I caught my girlfriend cheating on me the same night I was going to propose. I walked out, rebuilt my life, met someone real, and finally found peace. But guess who decided to crash my wedding wearing a red dress? Yeah, let's rewind a bit. I'm Ace, 30, physical therapist out of Boston. Most of my weeks are long shifts at the clinic, helping people learn how to walk again. Nothing glamorous, but it pays steady and keeps my head clear. My girlfriend, well, was girlfriend, Laura, worked remote in marketing, always had time for yoga and self-care. We'd been together 4 years. I'd been saving for a ring almost half that time. I clocked out a little early that Friday. My last patient cleared range of motion goals. The chart was signed, and the clinic lights were already half off. I texted Rico. Gym in 10? He sent back a flex emoji. We hit the small neighborhood gym a few blocks from work. I changed into an old hoodie, and we went straight to the bench press. Rico started talking about some firefighter prank at his station. Man, you people heal backs all day, and I lift burning couches. Tell me who's smarter. Who's the one with torn rotator cuffs every month? I said. He laughed, racked the bar. You still planning that thing tonight? Yeah, I said. Got the ring? Got the food? He nodded. Don't overthink it. Just do it. I don't overthink. I underfeel. That's worse. Exactly, I said, and we both laughed. 30 minutes later, we wrapped up. I stopped by the Thai place on the way home, pad Thai with extra lime, Laura's favorite. In the inside pocket of my jacket sat the small black box I'd been hiding under a pile of resistance bands at work. Simple platinum ring, nothing flashy. I'd been planning this night for weeks. She'd been hinting she knew. Little jokes about big surprises and when are we upgrading from boyfriend status. I figured it was time. I took the elevator up to our apartment with that weird calm you get before something big. The hallway smelled like her candle, vanilla and jasmine, but heavier than usual, like she'd gone overboard. The second I unlocked the door, I knew something was off. Shoes I didn't recognize sat by the couch, a black jacket I'd never seen draped over the chair. The playlist wasn't hers either. It was some indie garbage Nate used to play when he came around in college. My brain connected the dots before I wanted it to. I didn't call out, just carried the takeout through the living room. Halfway down the hall, I heard laughing. Hers, then a man's voice. Low. I pushed the bedroom door open. There they were. Laura froze halfway up from the bed, a blanket wrapped around her. Nate, same Nate who used to call me bro, was standing there trying to grab his jeans off the floor. For a second, nobody said a thing. Then I set the takeout bag on the dresser, opened one of the boxes and said, Pad Thai's getting cold. Don't stop on my account. Nate stammered something about leaving, snatched his jacket, and practically fell trying to get his shoes on. I stepped aside so he could go. Laura yelled his name as he bolted out the door barefoot. I could hear him sprinting down the hall. The silence after was strange, just her breathing hard and the faint sound of music from the speaker. She started talking fast, words tripping over each other. Ace, it wasn't, this just, he came by to talk, and one thing led to, yeah, I said, still calm. Gravity does that too. She pulled the blanket tighter, eyes wet. I swear, it didn't mean anything. Then why are you crying? I asked. She tried to reach for me. Because I messed up. You know I love you, right? You were the plan B, not the dream. I blinked. That's one way to say the quiet part out loud. Her face went pale. I didn't mean... Sure you did. I reached into my jacket, pulled out the small velvet box, flipped it open, looked at the ring, then looked at her. Guess I dodged the kneeling part. She stared, realizing what it was. You were going to... Tonight? Yeah. I closed it. Set it on the nightstand next to her phone. Don't worry. Return policy's still good. She tried to stand, still holding the blanket. Ace, please. Let's just talk. There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. On my way out, I grabbed the pad Thai and the ring box. I walked out. Didn't slam the door. Didn't look back. In the hallway, I heard her calling after me, voice cracking, but I kept walking to the elevator. The guy from down the hall gave me a confused look as I passed. I just nodded. Evening. Outside, the air hit cold against my face. I got in the car, set the takeout on the passenger seat, and drove to a quiet parking lot behind the clinic. Sat there a minute, engine running, everything weirdly clear. I took out my phone and sent one text. You just saved me a year's salary. Congrats. Blocked her right after. Then I opened the pad Thai. It had gone cold, but I didn't care. Ate a few bites, looked at the ring box still sitting on the seat, thought about how fast things flip. 1 hour earlier, I was ready to propose. Now I was a guy eating takeout alone in his car. I wasn't angry. My hands shook once on the wheel, then steadied. Just done. Tomorrow I'd return the ring, call a mover, find a short-term lease, cancel the refundable hold I'd put on a venue for next spring. All logistics, no drama. Cue the new apartment smelled like paint and dust. One room, cracked window, radiator that made noise every few hours. I moved in with 2 duffel bags, a mattress I bought off Marketplace, and 1 pan. That was it. Rico showed up that first weekend with a box of his old plates and a coffee maker. "You're living like a divorced monk," he said, setting the box down. "I call it minimalist," I told him. "And at least now my towels don't smell like her essential oils." He snorted. "Keep saying that until you realize you have no forks." We played pickup basketball that night. It was our thing when life got heavy. Less talking, more trash talk. Rico hit 2 threes in a row and yelled, "I'm built different." "Yeah," I said, "built like a badly assembled IKEA chair." He laughed so hard he missed the next shot. That's how our friendship worked. Constant roasting, no sympathy. Exactly what I needed. Work was steady. Long hours, full schedule. I picked up extra shifts because it filled time and because I liked watching patients improve. I'd rather fix other people's problems than sit around thinking about mine. My coworkers didn't ask much. They just noticed I stopped wearing the watch Lara gave me. The first few weeks were quiet until the messages started. Long paragraphs from Lara, all hitting the same notes. How sorry she was, how she didn't mean to hurt me, how she wasn't thinking straight. I read the first one out of curiosity. Halfway through, I blocked her number. She tried emailing next, then DMs from old accounts. I didn't reply. Silence is the best response. It gives them nothing to fight with. Then came the social media posts. Healing after betrayal. Sometimes good people make bad mistakes. Mutual friends screenshotted them like it was breaking news. I texted Rico, "She's launching a PR campaign." He replied, "Blockbuster flop." By the second month, I had my rhythm down. Work, gym, groceries, meal prep. Sundays I washed clothes and played one-on-one with Rico at the park. It wasn't exciting, but it was clean. No drama, no noise. I started liking the quiet. One morning after a heavy clinic day, the front desk paged me. "There's someone here for you," the receptionist said. I stepped out, expecting a patient's family member. It was Lara. She stood there holding a small cardboard box, pretending to be calm. "I just wanted to drop off your things," she said, like we were neighbors exchanging mail. I looked at the box, then at her. "Didn't realize you worked for UPS now." She flinched a little. "Can we please talk for a second?" "No," I said. "Not here." She held out the box. "At least take it." I took it. Looked inside. Random junk, old hoodie, a charger. I signed the clinic delivery log, handed her the pen and said, "Thanks for playing courier." She blinked, confused, then walked out fast before anyone noticed. Rico called that night. "You okay?" "Fine," I said. "You sound fine, like a guy who's fine because he doesn't think." "That's the point," I told him. "Thinking's what gets people in trouble." He laughed. "So what's next, Mr. Logic?" "Work, gym, sleep, repeat, romantic. I'm in a committed relationship with progress." And he laughed again, said he'd pick me up at 7 for hoops. Weeks passed. The routine stuck. My apartment stayed bare on purpose. 1 chair, 1 table, laptop, and a mattress. I liked how simple it was. Less to clean, less to lose. Sometimes I'd catch myself looking at the city through the cracked window thinking, this is what starting over actually looks like. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just quiet, repetitive effort. Every now and then a mutual friend would mention Lara, how she'd moved in with a friend, how Nate was out of the picture. I never asked for details. I'd just say, hope she finds whatever she's looking for, and change the topic. At work, I got more efficient. My boss noticed. "You've been on your game lately," she said. I shrugged. Nothing to distract me. She smiled, assuming I meant focus. I meant peace. Rico came by one weekend with a small TV and dumped it on my table. "Can't watch the Celtics on your laptop forever." "Who said I watched the Celtics?" He looked offended. "You're un-American," I smirked. "I'm post-breakup minimalist." He grinned. "Keep telling yourself that." Rico called me on a Thursday night while I was meal prepping chicken and rice. "Hey, you free Saturday?" "Define free." "My cousin's wedding." "You're coming." "I don't even know your cousin." "Exactly. Which means no one there cares if you stand in the corner like a weirdo. Free food, open dance floor, possible women who don't hate men yet." I sighed. Hard pass. He ignored that. I'm picking you up at 6. Saturday came, and there I was, sitting in Rico's truck wearing a suit that hadn't seen daylight since Laura's friend's engagement party. Rico was grinning like he'd already won something. The venue was a renovated barn outside the city. Lights strung up everywhere, music humming, people smiling like life had never hit them. I followed Rico in, nodded at strangers, and positioned myself near the back with a drink in hand. Then I saw her, behind a camera, crouched near the dance floor, eyes focused through the lens. She wasn't doing the fake smile thing photographers do. She looked like she actually cared about what she was shooting. When she stood up, I caught her glance. She didn't look away. Confident, direct, no performance. That alone made her interesting. Rico noticed. "Don't even think about it," he said. "Relax. I'm just appreciating good lighting." "Sure you are." Half an hour later, I ended up at the bar next to her. She ordered a ginger ale, so I did the same. "That camera ever take a break?" I asked. She didn't even look up. "Only when guys stop staring at it." I smiled. "Guess it's working overtime then." She gave a small smirk. "You always this smooth?" "Usually less. Today's a special occasion." "Lucky me," she said, still not looking directly at me but clearly amused. We talked between her photo breaks, nothing deep, nothing forced. I found out her name was Viola. She ran her own photography business, and she'd quit a job to do it full time. "Best decision I ever made," she said. "Worst financially, but best overall." Risk management," I said. "I respect it. Do you talk like a business manual all the time?" "Only when I'm nervous." "You don't seem nervous." "I'm good at hiding symptoms." That got a small laugh. By the time Rico found me, the night was almost over. "You actually talking to someone? Should I call the press?" I ignored him. Viola raised an eyebrow. "Your friend always this supportive?" "He means well. His brain just runs on diesel fumes." She laughed again. "See you around, Dr. Logic." 2 days later, I texted her number. She'd given it casually before leaving. We met for coffee that week. No fancy setup, no planning. She showed up in jeans and a black hoodie, hair tied up, no filters. I liked that. The first date turned into 3. Coffee became late-night walks, then thrift store runs because she liked digging for props for her shoots. I mostly pushed the cart and made sarcastic comments about the strange stuff she picked out. "You don't like old things?" she asked once, holding a rusted lamp. "I've had enough nostalgia for a lifetime," I said. She tilted her head, curious. "Ex?" "Yeah," I said. She wanted nostalgia. I wanted honesty. Viola nodded, didn't pry, just went back to examining the lamp. That alone said a lot. We kept seeing each other. Texts turned into regular plans. We didn't talk about the future or define anything. We just existed in sync. It was quiet and simple, which for me was a luxury. Viola wasn't dramatic or clingy. She was busy, focused, and she respected time. Mine and hers. When she worked late editing, I didn't take it personally. When I stayed extra hours at the clinic, she didn't complain. We'd meet halfway after long days, grab takeout, sit in her car, talk about random things like music, or why gym mirrors are always terrible. No heavy declarations, no testing boundaries. Just quiet consistency. One night, she showed me a few photos she'd taken at the wedding. One of them was of me, standing near the dance floor, mid-smirk, Rico in the background laughing. "You took this?" I asked. "Yeah. You looked like you were judging everyone." "Accurate." She smiled. "Good light, though." That picture ended up in her portfolio under candid moments. She texted me later, "You make a decent accidental model." I replied, "I charge by the expression." After that, seeing her became part of my routine. Work, gym, Viola. My apartment didn't feel as empty anymore. She never tried to fix me or dig into the breakup. She just showed up, stayed present, and matched the pace I could actually keep. By the 3rd month, I realized I hadn't thought about Lara in weeks. Not because I was forcing it, just because life had gotten full again. Not loud, not chaotic, just full. Viola texted one evening while I was finishing up at the clinic. "Dinner or walk?" I replied, "Walk. Less cleanup." We met by the river. The city lights reflected off the water. She handed me a coffee and said, "You always this quiet?" "Only when things feel right," I said. She smiled, sipping her drink. No big moment, no background music, just 2 people walking. That's how it started, quietly, with space to breathe. A year later, things with Viola had become steady enough that moving in together just made sense. No big talk, no checklist. We both got tired of hauling overnight bags between apartments. We found a small 2-bedroom in Somerville. Decent light, clean kitchen, enough space for her photography gear and my pull-up bar. Somewhere in month 2, we adopted Pixel, a rescue mutt who sleeps under Viola's desk while she edits and treats tripods like chew toys. She turned the second bedroom into her studio. Within a week, it looked like a controlled explosion of camera equipment, backdrops, and coffee mugs. I claimed a corner of the living room for a foldable rack and the laptop. We joked it was his and hers chaos. Living together was easy because we both hated drama. When she got quiet editing at 1 a.m., I didn't hover. When I zoned out doing billing reports for the clinic, she didn't take it personally. If something bothered us, we said it straight. No guessing games. A few weeks later, I invited my sister Emma over to meet her. Emma's the type who has an opinion before she even says hello. She showed up with wine and a test smile. Viola met her at the door, wearing a paint-stained t-shirt, hair in a messy bun. Within 10 minutes, they were talking about some cooking show like old friends. I stood back, half listening. Emma looked at me later and said, "She's the normal one, right? Keep this one." "That's the plan," I told her. Rico came by the following weekend with takeout and immediately started roasting. "Man, you two look like a Pinterest board that learned about rent control." Viola laughed. "Hey, Rico, the myth, the legend, the unpaid therapist," he said, shaking her hand. Then Laura started appearing again, at least online. She'd been quiet for nearly a year. Out of nowhere, she began tagging me in old pictures. Trips, dinners, random selfies from years back. Captions like, "Some people forget who loved them first." I didn't respond. I just blocked her accounts and kept scrolling. When Viola saw one tag before I deleted it, she laughed. "That's creative," she said. "She's always been consistent with bad ideas." Viola shook her head. "You sure you're okay with it?" "Completely. She's fishing. I'm not biting." That was the end of it. By then, we'd built routines that actually worked. Saturdays, we'd grab groceries early, hit the farmer's market, maybe shoot some outdoor photos for her clients. Sundays, I'd meal prep while she edited. Even arguments stayed civilized. Once she double-booked a client and forgot dinner plans. She apologized before I said anything. "It happens," I told her. "You handle 20 people a week. I can handle one reschedule." She kissed my cheek and said, "See, that's why you're my favorite human." Around that time, I started thinking about proposing. No big flashbacks, no comparisons, just logic. It felt right. She'd moved into my space without changing who she was. She made things simple, not smaller. That's rare. I didn't tell anyone, not even Rico. I picked up a ring that matched her. Clean, minimal, no glittery nonsense. I kept it in my jacket pocket for a week, waiting for a moment that felt natural. It showed up one night when we were eating dinner after a long day. She'd cooked pasta. I'd brought home a small cheesecake. We sat at our wobbly dining table, the one still missing 2 screws. We were talking about random stuff. Camera clients, one of my patients learning to walk again. She mentioned maybe doing more travel shoots next year. "That's good," I said. "You build things fast." "Trying to." "Why?" I took out the ring box, set it on the table next to her fork. "Because I'd rather build than rebuild." She froze, blinked twice, then laughed quietly like she wasn't sure if I was serious. "You're serious?" "Completely." She opened the box, looked at the ring, then at me. "You really don't do speeches, do you?" "Not my department," I said. She stood up, came around the table, and hugged me hard. "Yes," she said simply. We didn't post anything that night. No champagne, no announcement. Just finished dinner, cleaned up, and went for a walk after. The city felt steady, like everything had finally caught up to where it was supposed to be. Later, when I told Rico, he laughed. "No flash mobs, no fireworks? Man, you're the most efficient romantic ever." "Low cost, high return," I said. He shook his head. "Still sounds like you, Ace. Still logical." That was fine by me. Logic was the only thing that hadn't failed me yet. 2 weeks after Viola and I posted the engagement photos, things were running smooth. Work was stacked, but balanced. The comments on her post were all good vibes. Family, friends, Rico clowning me for finally smiling on camera. I hadn't thought about Lara in months. That Friday, I finished late at the clinic. It was almost dark when I walked out, tossing my bag in the passenger seat. The parking lot was half empty. I'd just unlocked my car when someone said my name. Ace. I turned. Lara stood near the back of a silver sedan, dressed like she was headed to a brunch she wasn't invited to. Heels, red coat, hair too perfect for the wind. Her smile looked practiced. The kind you use when you're trying to sell something you don't own. I stayed by my door. "What are you doing here?" "I just wanted to talk," she said. Her voice was soft, like we were old friends catching up. "Parking lot therapy's closed," I said. She stepped closer, ignoring the distance. "Can we not do this? I'm not here to fight. I just need to say some things." I folded my arms. 10 seconds. She hesitated, then dove straight in. Nate and I are over. He couldn't handle a real woman. Said I was too much. I didn't respond. The silence threw her off. She blinked. You're really not going to say anything? Not my business, I said. She laughed, short and bitter. Of course, Mr. Calm and collected. You move on like nothing ever touches you. Things touch me, I said. I just don't chase them. Her jaw tightened. You replace me fast. You and her posting pictures like it's some fairy tale. Does she even know who you really are? I shrugged. Probably better than you did. Lara's voice cracked. She's a downgrade, Ace. Everyone sees it. You went from real passion to some safe little project. I smiled lightly. Even my Wi-Fi upgrades faster than you. That one landed. She blinked, caught between confusion and anger. You think you're funny? I think I'm done, I said, unlocking the car. She reached out suddenly, fingers brushing my sleeve. You don't get to act like this didn't matter. I loved you. I stepped back. No, you loved control. You lost it. Now you're trying to recycle it. That stopped her cold for half a second. Then she went for the guilt card. You think she's better than me? Doesn't matter, I said. She's mine now, and that's enough. Her face changed, anger twisting into something desperate. You'll see, Ace. She'll get tired of your walls too. I looked past her toward the clinic entrance, where the evening security guard, Greg, had stepped out after catching the tone. Everything okay out here? He called. Yeah, I said. Just someone lost. Lara snapped. I'm not lost. Greg frowned. Ma'am, you can't be here after hours. She looked from him to me, eyes sharp. You're just going to let him talk to me like that? He's doing his job, I said. Greg walked over, calm but firm. Time to go, ma'am. Lara glared at him, then at me. You really changed. Finally, I said. Greg guided her toward her car. She tried to say something else, but I'd already gotten in mine and started the engine. She raised her voice as I pulled away, but the sound got eaten by traffic. By the time I hit the main road, the whole thing already felt distant. My hands were steady on the wheel. No rush of anger. No old ache. Just another unwanted appointment handled and done. I stopped by a gas station on the way home. Texted Viola. Running a little late. Parking lot drama. All good. She sent back, work drama or actual drama? Past tense drama, I wrote. When I got home, Viola was editing photos in her studio room. She looked up. Everything okay? Yeah, I said, dropping my keys. Lara showed up. Her eyebrows went up, but her tone stayed even. What did she want? To talk. She said Nate's gone. Tried to stir things up. Didn't work. She say anything interesting? She called you a downgrade, I said. Viola grinned. Nice. Haven't been called that since high school. She's consistent, I said. Security walked her out. Viola nodded, turning back to her screen. Guess she's still trying to edit her own story. Bad lighting, I said. She laughed softly, then looked at me again. You good? I'm fine. She's background noise now? Viola stood, crossed the room, and put her arms around me. You handled it? Like a professional, I said. Didn't even raise my voice. That's my guy, she said against my shoulder. We stood there for a second, the hum of her computer fan the only sound. She pulled back, gave me that half smile of hers. You know she'll probably try something online again. Already blocked everything, I said. Not worth the data. We had dinner like normal, joked about Greg getting Employee of the Month, watched a half episode of some show before crashing. I didn't bring up Lara again, and Viola didn't ask. The quiet lasted about a month before the noise started again. It began small. Random comments from accounts with no profile pictures. Stuff like, funny how fast some people forget real love under our photos. I ignored it until the username started looking familiar. Combinations of Lara's old nicknames, random numbers, and the same recycled captions. I blocked, deleted, moved on. Viola shrugged it off too. Trolls are bored, she said, but the comments kept coming, and they got specific. One post on my clinic's page said, ask Ace why he hides his feelings for Lara. The truth always leaks. Another said, you can't fake chemistry forever. Rico came over that night, scrolling through his phone. Bro, she's starting a fan club for rejection. I should start charging admission, I said. He grinned. You joke, but this is material for a whole documentary. Title it, The Ex Who Couldn't Log Off. A few days later, she switched strategies. Emails, long, rambling essays about unfinished business, and energy bonds that can't be broken. One message had 6 paragraphs about how she was the real muse behind Viola's success. Another accused me of using Viola to make her jealous. I didn't respond. I just started a folder on my laptop labeled Lara Evidence, dropped every screenshot in there, and called my lawyer. The temporary restraining order came through within a week. When the paperwork arrived, Viola read it over my shoulder. You think she'll care? No, I said. But it's for the record. Good, she said. Then let the cops handle the noise. We thought that would cool things down. It didn't. The next hit came through Viola's photography business. She woke up one morning to 3 new 1-star reviews on Google Maps, all from new accounts. Same writing style, same tone. The first one said, "This studio is a scam. The owner uses clients' photos without permission. Total fraud." Another claimed she took people's deposits and ghosted them. Viola read them out loud, half amused, half irritated. She really thinks this will work? I pulled out my phone, already taking screenshots. Apparently, she's trying her hand at creative writing. Rico, who was on FaceTime, whistled. She's escalating. Somebody tell her to touch grass. Viola shook her head. I can dispute these with Google. Still, imagine waking up and deciding this is how you spend your energy. Professional delusion, I said. Unpaid internship. We reported the reviews. 2 got removed within a day. The 3rd took a week. Viola stayed calm through all of it, which made me respect her even more. The next stunt crossed into real life. It was a Saturday morning. Viola had a small shoot scheduled at her studio. A family session, 2 kids, normal weekend stuff. I dropped by to help move equipment before heading to the gym. Around 10 a.m., her assistant, Maya, came to the back room and whispered, "There's a woman here asking for a walk-in session. Says she knows you, Viola." Viola frowned. Did she give a name? Lara. We both froze for a second. Viola stood straighter. Okay, don't let her in here. Call the police. Tell them there's a restraining order. We'd already filed a temporary restraining order 2 weeks earlier, after she started emailing again. It wasn't perfect, but it gave the police a reason to step in fast. Maya nodded, calm but firm. I stepped out front just as the officers arrived. Lara was sitting in the waiting area, pretending to scroll on her phone like she was early for an appointment. When she saw me, her fake calm cracked. "Oh, look who's here," she said, standing up. "I was just supporting local business." "You're trespassing," I said evenly. "You were warned." "I'm not trespassing," she snapped. "You people think you own every space now?" One of the officers stepped forward. "Ma'am, we've already discussed this. You need to leave." Lara pointed at Viola, who was standing behind me. "See? She's obsessed with me. You both are." Viola crossed her arms. "You came here." "That's what stalkers say," Lara said, laughing like it was a punchline. The police didn't argue. They walked her out while she yelled about false narratives and how everyone was twisting her story. After she was gone, the family waiting for their shoot whispered something to Maya, who handled it like a pro. Rescheduled, apologized, refunded. Viola locked the studio door, exhaled, and looked at me. "You ever think people just choose delusion like a hobby?" "Daily," I said. Rico showed up later that evening with food. We sat at my place reviewing the new screenshots. He scrolled through the folder, shaking his head. "Man, this is gold. Label that folder Yelp Wars and keep backing it up." "Needs better writing," I said. Viola smirked. "She'll probably send you a draft soon." My lawyer filed to extend the restraining order. The judge made it permanent within the month. When the notification went through, I printed a copy and pinned it on my fridge. Viola walked by and raised an eyebrow. "Decoration? Motivation," I said. "Peace is earned." We didn't see her in person again until the wedding. The fake account slowed, the reviews disappeared, and the inbox stayed quiet. But I didn't relax completely. Rico kept saying, "Always expect a sequel." I just shrugged. Nah, some stories don't get sequels. They just fade into reruns. Viola leaned on my shoulder, scrolling through new client messages that night. "Back to normal," she said. "Finally." "Think she'll ever realize she's the villain?" "Villains don't read the script," I said. We both laughed, but under it was relief. For the first time in months, the noise was gone. We set a date for a small ceremony in the Berkshires. Quiet on purpose. The day started quiet. Small place in the Berkshires. 50 people tops. It was our wedding day. I picked it because it felt calm, like it had been waiting for silence. The kind of venue where you can hear chairs scrape the floor and birds outside the windows. Rico straightened my tie before we walked out. "You ready, bro?" "Yeah," I said. "Let's try to get married before the universe changes its mind." He laughed. "You're weirdly calm." "That's the goal." Music started. Viola walked down the aisle with sunlight hitting the edges of her dress. For a second, everything stopped moving. She looked steady, confident. We met halfway, held hands. My sister Emma was crying before the officiant even started. The first 10 minutes went smooth. The vows were short, the guests quiet, and then the doors opened. I didn't turn at first. Everyone else did. Then I saw a flash of red moving down the aisle. Laura. She was in a red dress, red like she wanted headlines, holding a small bouquet that looked stolen from a grocery store. Eyes glossy, smile too wide, entitled smile. The kind of smile that says you owe me. Ace, she called out, loud enough to bounce off the walls. That ring was supposed to be mine. Every head turned back to me. Viola's hand stayed in mine, tight but not shaking. Laura kept walking, slow, confident like she rehearsed. You promised me that ring. I'm the real fiancé, Rico muttered behind me. You've got to be kidding. I didn't move. Security, I said, voice normal, like I was asking for another pen. We'd hired 2 guards for the day and briefed the venue. They stepped from the side doors. Laura backed up a half step but kept talking faster. You can't marry her. She stole my life. You said you'd never stop loving me. I looked at her. That was before you started sharing it with Nate. Her face flickered. She dropped the fake bouquet and pointed at Viola. She took everything from me. Viola spoke, calm as glass. You should leave, Laura. She's the thief, Laura shouted. You're standing there wearing my ring. The guards reached her. Ma'am, please come with us. Don't touch me, she snapped, pulling away. Ace, tell them. You know this isn't right. I shook my head once. Escort her out. They each took an arm. She tried to twist free, still yelling. You can't pretend I don't exist. One of the guards said something low. Laura's voice cracked. She switched to crying mid-sentence, the way someone does when they realize they've lost the audience. Outside the open doors, I caught the reflection of blue lights. 2 officers waiting. We'd already provided the restraining order to the venue and local PD and told them not to let her near the property. They handled it by the book. The doors shut. The room went dead quiet except for the faint sound of a police radio outside. I turned back to the guests. Sorry for the delay, I said. Someone got the wrong venue. Laughter broke out. Awkward at first, then real. The officiant smiled like he didn't know if he should keep reading or thank me for the comic relief. Let's pick it up from the vows, I said. Viola squeezed my hand once and smiled. The tension in her shoulders eased. Her voice was steady when she spoke. I promise to choose you even on the quiet days, when there's nothing to fix and nothing to prove. When it was my turn, I kept it simple. You know what I'm like. I keep things even. No games, no drama. I'm staying that way. With you. The officiant nodded, clearly relieved we were back on script. By the power vested in me. And that was it. Married. Just like that. Applause filled the room, loud and genuine. Rico slapped me on the back. Man, you owe me a drink for running interference. Add it to the tab, I said. By the time we stepped outside for photos, the police car was gone. Staff had already cleared the mess of petals and the tossed bouquet. Someone said the officers were professional, quiet, respectful. Good. That's all I wanted. Quiet. During the photos, Rico leaned in. You handled that like a statue. Statues don't talk, I said. Exactly. He laughed. She really thought she could just walk in here? Yeah, I said. She thought time freezes if she keeps replaying it. The reception was small. Steak, pasta, music from a friend's playlist. Normal. No one brought her up again. Emma gave a toast that made Viola tear up. Rico's speech was mostly roasting me, which was fine. It kept the tone light. When we finally sat down after the dances, Viola looked at me. You sure you're okay? Yeah, I said. She just reminded me what I don't miss. Fair. She smiled. Your one-liners helped. Humor's cheaper than therapy. 3 months later, I was making coffee when an envelope showed up in the mail slot. No return address, but I recognized the formatting. Law firm stationery. I opened it. 1 sheet of paper. Miss. Laura Daniels requests a mediated conversation for emotional closure following your marriage. I read it twice, set it on the counter, and laughed once. I snapped a photo and texted it to my lawyer. He said it danced on the edge of the order but didn't break it. Viola called from the living room. What's funny? Closure request, I said. She's outsourcing now. What are you going to do? I dropped the paper straight into the trash. Nothing. I've already answered. She walked over, hair tied up, pixel circling her feet, and handed me a mug. Boundaries still holding? Always, I said. We stepped onto the balcony. The air was cool, city humming below. Viola leaned against the railing, camera strap over her shoulder, already scanning the light like she was framing a photo. Pixel flopped down beside me. I watched the steam rise off the coffee and thought about how quiet it was. No calls, no posts, no messages. Just stillness. Viola looked over. You thinking about her? Not really. Just thinking how different it feels when nothing's on fire. She nodded. You earned that. I shrugged. Peace isn't luck, I said. It's boundaries. She smiled, raised her camera, and clicked. Hold that thought.